to thank all you guys for coming out. This is definitely going to be a great show.
How do I say that going into a dark club that fits 50 people and has 100 people in it, and you see it in some crazy tattooed band up there yelling and screaming, kids tackling the singer, how can you explain it as being fun unless you understand that it is fun? Unless you've seen a show, it's hard to understand what it's all about.
It was the only music scene that spoke to me as a teenager because I felt like I didn't belong in the hippie, the long-haired scene of the late 70s. And I didn't really fit in with the surfers in Southern California at the time. And so it was basically a scene of misfits, a scene of creative people, energetic people who didn't really get along with the popular trends of the time.
I think punk and hardcore have the same community. The same kids will go out to a show regardless of who it is, just to see, just to be there, be part of the scene. I think that's what misses out in a lot of other music is there's no scene to it. We can go anywhere across the country and play and there'll always be kids there. And I think that's what they share is not musically or stylistically, but the same like rabid fan bases.
There's no distance between the musicians and the audience. They're the same people. And the people that put together the shows know you, and the people that play know you, and it's just like a more interconnected scene.
It's good to be around people that know what you're into, It's a gathering, without a doubt. It's not just a band, it's not a concert, It's a show, that's the difference. You go to a show, you get to sing on the mic, you get to, jump around. You get to actually talk to the guy outside right before he goes on stage.
It's a real closeness, you meet a lot of people that way. It's definitely like a tight family circle. It's real cool.
Going to shows has always been like an extended family, because you always had the kids in school that you probably never really liked, and the reason you got into hardcore punk rock was it was a form of just rebelling against those kids and saying, well, you know what, I'm not like you, I don't really have those values, I'm tired of trying to keep up with the fashions just to be cool and be down. So you get away from those kids and get involved in hardcore.
If you're seeing a show at your home base and a million kids there, you feel a lot more relaxed. But sometimes you go out and you see a show in a place where you don't go often or another city, and you don't know what's going to happen, and maybe you're a little nervous. Feel like, big burly skinheads getting ready to kick your ass.
The band plugs in, they rock, everybody comes in, and they do what they want.
They do what they fucking want.
Exactly, my man.
Thank you. That's chaos. There should be a feeling of chaos. You should be scared at a show.
Like a magic kiss.
Many people came to the show.
basically a good show for us is one that the audience can feel how we feel when we're playing.
Right.
Lots of energy, and if they can get the real point, you know, if we can get it across them, you can tell which shows.
A good show doesn't take any work. A good show happens, and it's like, you know, sometimes you're up there, and if the crowd isn't necessarily, you know, coming along for the fun or whatever, you feel like you're like entertaining people, like you're up there da 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 da
with all the special lights and all that, you know.
But a real good show is when everyone's having as much fun, like he said, as we are, and it takes the pressure off us. I don't really feel like I have to like entertain people. I feel like everyone is being entertained by the entire moment of it.
We definitely work off the crowd.
Are you punk rock because you're in the clique, or are you punk rock because nobody likes you?
The
Punk rock
of it, there's the music, there's the live shows, there's
unlike
the theories.
Unlike a lot of people's opinion, punk rock to me is a lack of rules. Punk rock to me is doing what you feel as a person, contrary to popular trends or social placement. You know, punk rock to me could be anything.
When like straight classic rock and roll got to be really boring and dull, like in the 70s, people decided to strip it back down and make it mean something, and make it fast and angry again, rather than boring and for a bunch of like, you know, just dull slobs. And I think hardcore evolved from that same evolution. Like people started pushing punk rock even more. You know, it became less like rock and roll based and more angry and more aggressive, and it's still getting pushed today. People just keep expanding the parameters of what you could call hardcore, what you could call, you know, punk rock. It just comes from people tired of stagnation and just constantly, you know, seeing a constant evolution with the music form.
Que si hablamos español. Latino aquí. Esta canción se llama Set It Off.
I've seen a lot of changes from the time when I was introduced to the scene till now. I mean, you know, fashion-wise, attitude-wise, I mean, there's always some kind of changing going on in any scene, pretty much, you know.
That's the weird thing about like hardcore, like in 1996. It's like gone. It's taken like a lot of different paths and a lot of different terms. I mean, like what I always thought is like originally hardcore was just like kind of like Americanized punk rock a little bit more. Like the American kids saw like what was going on in England and said we'll start our bands, and like kind of started like a music that would be called hardcore, just played a little more fast and a little less like rock and rolly, a little more aggressively.
Yeah, the scene has just lost its punk edge. You know what I mean? Like, it's still, even when hardcore just began in the late 80s, because before then, when I first got into it, there was no hardcore. It just everything was all punk, you know? You just like a bunch of hardcore punks, you know what I mean? Yeah. And you got into the skinhead vibe, but it's just like, well, until the late 80s, there was even hardcore, and now it's gotten more and more, so like, the whole punkness is gone.
The word hardcore, to me, is just, it came out of, like, it's just an adjective for extreme punk rock, you know? Like
to the core, straight from
hardcore
there, you know
punk
what I
rock,
mean?
you know
It's
what I
the
mean?
next level of the
And people are going to be even more put off by that. They say, oh, this guy's a punk, but this guy's an extreme punk. He's a hardcore punk. You know what I mean? And so right away, that gives these people this negative imagery, and when actually, it's actually an evolved art.
Yeah, big man
These kids forget that that's what this is. They don't realize that hardcore is, you know, a branch of punk rock. I mean, you can't fight it. That's what, you know, it started here in New York City, you know. I mean, punk started here and it went, you know, through all its different changes. And this is, you know, this is like one of its final underground resting places is hardcore, you know, where Rancid's like on the charts and stuff. This is your really only underground subculture part of punk rock that's left. It's gone into so many different things. Metallica, you know, when they first started, they were punk compared to Iron Maiden. You know, punk has influenced so many other types of music, and the kids forget that this is part of that punk rock movement.
Go show something good on TV. First, you gotta call a club and say, hey, I'm cool. Give me a day and I'll give you a show and bring in lots of kids and promote your club. And then they say, okay, we think you're cool. So they give you a day, and then you think of what kind of show you want. From there, you find 3 or 4 bands, maybe 5, and you call them. You guys done mastering yet?
No.
No? All right, well, here's the deal. Okay, November 22nd, I have a date at Cheers. If it's done, then we'll do your EP release with you and whatever bands you want. But if it's not, I want you to play with Quit and the Agency and probably one more band.
When?
On the 22nd, if it's not going to be your EP.
Okay.
So I need to know. Well, who would you want to play with for your release?
I think we were talking about Quit and Ed Matus.
Okay, so why don't I just do that, and if it's your release, then it's your release.
Okay.
Okay. Then you wait about a week for them to call you back, and they give you the big runaround of, yeah, we'll call you back. And they finally call you back and say yes. And then call the club, tell them everything's cool. And then you make flyers as soon as you know, and then you flyer till the day of your show. It's very important to me because it's the first 7-inch out on my label. It's the first anything out on my label. And I've been busting my ass for it. And nobody really realizes that except for me and the band. But they'll see. All those times I had to leave school early to go to the bank or to go to the post office, it'll all pay off. So, and the 22nd's a big day. Big show, big release. I have to make flyers today because it's a big show tonight. Off to Office Depot to steal paper. Mission, steal as much from you can from the man. It's officially November 22nd, the big day, and I just spent the past 2 hours putting together 207 inches for tonight. This is the cover, and this is the back. This is for the Bacon Andes. This is the inside, and like, here they thanked all the special people, especially me. Amy kicking the door fiddler, all right. And these are the bags, and this is as pretty as they get, right there. Gold vinyl, baby. Oh yeah.
Yellow. Where are the numbers? They're on the A side. Find me 138.
138?
I love it. It's just like anything like